Advocate, good to have your time today. So, was the failure by the South African delegation to meet with the opposition in Zimbabwe a major diplomatic error?
Afternoon, even to the viewers. I don't think so. Remember that in their plan or itinerary, the issues that we have learned from the embassy in Harare, there was a plan to meet with the churches or opposition parties. But remember that this was more of a head of state to head of state envoy. But if it was a SADC envoy or a SADC mission, we would have expected the SADC mission to meet with everyone. But remember earlier, we are waiting for the notes to be shared with the head of state and to understand why the issue of national dialogue was not emphasized by the envoys. So I will say to you, in short, it was not a diplomatic error or a flaw, but it was a diplomatic oversight.
Let me ask you this then, Advocate Mandula. You've got in Zimbabwe the opposition and other activists who say, look, things are falling apart. There's a clampdown on demonstrators. There's massive corruption in the government. The economy is doing anything but getting better, right? And then on the other hand, you listen to interviews that are done by officials from the governing ZANU-PF. They say, well, there's nothing to see here, and much of that is exaggerated. They're blaming foreign forces and rogue Zimbabweans. So if there were to be a dialogue, I wonder what quality of a dialogue they would have, given that neither side is seemingly at this stage willing to meet and agree at least on the problems in the country.
My brother, the challenge of Zimbabwe, it is a very complex and it is a long-term solution. The issue of security sector reform, political reform, remember that 7 years ago Zimbabwe had a new constitution, which I think it is their refugee or their source of engagement. But the current government, it is still stubborn. You have challenge of COVID, you have challenges of corruption. But I will say to you that SADC and AU is closely monitoring Zimbabwe now. So there is no way we can undermine the power of engagement, of the talks for now. And remember that opposition in that country as well is not united. There is factions of opposition parties. And again, the media is being censored as well. Hence, we don't get clear reporting coming out of even Harare. So for me, I will say to you, it is very important for all actors in Zimbabwe to opt for a mediation from outside, and that mediation should come from the SADC and from the AU. And when one talks of SADC Troika, coincidentally, Zimbabwe is the chair of that Troika. So Zimbabwe must recuse themselves from that Troika and allow Tanzania to lead as well as the chair of SADC, because the main issue that we are crying of, it is us, the neighbors, to intervene, when actually Tanzania as the chair and as the outgoing chair, they were supposed to be dealing with this issue of Zimbabwe. South Africa, under the chair of AU, we have sent the envoys so that we can share notes come the SADC summit. Remember that in the few days, you must have a SADC summit, whether it is virtual, whether it's not virtual, but the SADC must engage on the issue of Zimbabwe, because the issues that we have raised earlier, economy, refugees, corruption, are very critical, and we cannot wait for too long. And the issues of Zimbabwe, again, I can assure you, my brother, the issues of transitional justice system have never been implemented in that country. There will be some
voices, Advocate, in Zimbabwe who say, when you mention SADC taking the lead on this, you say SADC has had decades to take the lead on Zimbabwe. So far, things for the poorest of the poor especially have not got better, so why should they pin their hopes on a 2020 intervention?
The 2020 intervention, I will say, in SADC you have what we call the pressure group, which is your mass movement, civil society, which is not given a hearing as well. But the current SADC leadership, I think it is high time that we need to awaken them and say SADC cannot be that league of brotherhood anymore. SADC cannot take cover, because recently one can mention the former head of state of Gaborone, Ian Khama. He has raised the question of SADC effectiveness, and raising that if we say African solutions for African problems for African solutions, when are we getting solutions for Harare? So for me, it is that we must not have a doubt or be impatient. Maybe with this striker, maybe with this new chair coming of SADC, they might have to take Zimbabwe into task, because you will understand that SADC is having the issues of DRC, Cabo Delgado, you know. So there are many challenges that are facing SADC region, but Zimbabwe must be on their top agenda. And I can assure you, it is not only leaders. The role of media is critical as well, to always put pressure to these leaders. Intellectuals have been writing, have been analyzing. Communities as well have to put pressure beyond social media. One can say that the role of justice system in Harare as well has to be questioned. Hence, earlier I was raising that the broader reforms in Zimbabwe will include legal reform, security sector reform, political reform. Partly we have constitutional reform, which is still being caged and still being censored to the ordinary people there.
Advocate Sipho Mantula, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.